I've seen the end of the world 37 times now. Each time, I hope it's the last. Each time, I'm wrong.
Hey, are you okay? You've been staring at that wall for almost an hour.
My roommate's voice pulls me back to reality. This reality. The one where the world hasn't ended yet. I turn to look at him, wondering if I should tell him that in exactly 47 days, he'll be dead. We all will be.
Earth to weirdo, did you hear me?
I force a smile. It's easier than explaining. I'm fine, just thinking.
Well, think why you help me with these groceries. I'm not your personal butler.
I get up from the couch and help him unpack the bags. Milk, eggs, bread. Such normal things. Such temporary things. I notice he bought strawberries. I remember how much he loved strawberries the first time around, before the sky turned red and the oceans boiled.
You sure you're okay? You look like you've seen a ghost.
If only it were that simple. Ghosts I could handle. What I've seen is much worse. Yeah, I was tired. Didn't sleep well.
And again, maybe you should see someone about that. Those nightmares are getting worse, aren't they?
They're not nightmares. They're memories. But I just nod and continue unpacking groceries. That night, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling. The first time it happened, I thought I was going crazy. I was at work filing reports when suddenly the building shook, the window shattered, the sky turned a sickly green, and then everything ended in fire and screaming. I died. I know I died. I felt my skin burn away, my lungs filled with toxic air. And then I woke up in my bed, 3 months earlier, drenched in sweat, but very much alive. I tried to warn people, I really did. No one believed me. Why would they? I sounded insane. So I watched it happen again, and again, and again. Each time, I wake up 3 months before the end, with perfect memory of what's coming. Each time, I try something different to stop it. Each time, I fail. The next morning, I decide to try a new approach. If I can't stop what's coming, maybe I can document it. Leave something behind for whoever or whatever comes after us.
Can I help you find something?
The bookstore clerk startles me. I've been staring at journals for 10 minutes. Just looking for a good notebook. Something durable.
Durable how? Like waterproof? Fireproof?
I almost laugh. Nothing is apocalypse-proof. Just something that will last.
These leather-bound ones are nice. They'll outlive us all, probably.
If only she knew how little time that actually meant. I buy 3 journals and head to the coffee shop across the street. I order the largest coffee they have and begin writing everything I remember from the previous 37 ends of the world. The first time. A chain reaction in the atmosphere. Scientists called it unprecedented. The sky burned for 3 days before the oxygen levels dropped too low for human survival. The second time I tried to warn the scientific community, was institutionalized instead, watched the same atmospheric chain reaction from the barred window of a psychiatric hospital. The third time, underground nuclear testing triggered a series of earthquakes. Different cause, same result. On and on it goes. 37 apocalypses, 37 failures. I write until my hand cramps. Then I write more.
Mind if I sit here? Place is packed.
I look up to see a man gesturing to the empty chair across from me. I nod and continue writing.
That looks intense. Working on a novel?
I consider ignoring him, but something about his expression makes me pause. He looks familiar. Something like that.
Must be a horror story, judging by your face.
You could say that.
I'm a bit of a writer myself, though I deal more in non-fiction, specifically theoretical physics.
This catches my attention. In all my attempts, I've never tried consulting a physicist. What kind of theoretical physics?
Time, causality, the really weird stuff that makes most people's eyes glaze over.
My heart races. Could this be it? The solution I've been looking for? What if, hypothetically, someone was caught in a time loop, experiencing the same catastrophic event over and over?
Interesting premise for your novel. Sounds like a closed causal loop. In theory, such a person would be experiencing a localized temporal anomaly,
And how would they break out of it?
In fiction or in theoretical physics?
Both.
Well, in most stories, the character needs to learn some profound lesson or fix some fundamental mistake. In physics, it's more complicated. A true causal loop would be nearly impossible to break unless the variable causing the loop was removed from the equation.
What do you mean?
Think of it like this. If a specific element is causing reality to reset, removing that element might allow time to progress normally.
I feel cold suddenly. Is he suggesting what I think he's suggesting? And what if the element is a person?
Then theoretically that person would need to not be part of the equation when the reset point arrives.
He sips his coffee casually, as if we're discussing the weather and not my potential suicide.
But this is all just theory. Good fodder for your novel, though.
He stands to leave, placing a business card on the table.
If you want to discuss more theoretical scenarios, give me a call. I find your novel quite intriguing.
I watch him leave, the business card sitting ominously on the table. Dr. Thomas Rader, Quantum Physics Department. I'd never met him in any of my previous loops. This is new. This is different. For the next week, I debate calling him. I continue filling my journals with details of each apocalypse, the variations, the constants. On the 8th day, I call.
I've been expecting your call. Let's meet somewhere private. My office tomorrow, 8 p.m.
His office is in the basement of the university physics building. Books and papers cover every surface. Equations fill multiple whiteboards. He gestures for me to sit.
You're not writing a novel, are you?
No.
Tell me everything.
And so I do. I tell him about all 37 apocalypses, about waking up 3 months before each one, about my failed attempts to warn people, to stop it, to save anyone.
Fascinating. And you say the world ends in exactly 39 days from now?
Yes, though the method changes sometimes. Nuclear war, climate collapse, biological weapons, strange atmospheric phenomena, but the date is always the same.
And you always wake up on the same date 3 months prior?
Yeah.
What's the constant? In chaos theory, there's always a constant. Something that remains unchanged despite variables shifting.
I don't know. I've tried everything. Living differently, warning different people. Nothing works.
The constant might be you.
The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean?
In every scenario, you survive until the end, then reset. What if your consciousness is somehow tethered to this loop? What if you're the anchor point?
So, you're saying...
I'm saying we need to test a theory. If you're the constant, removing you from the equation before the reset point might break the loop.
You want me to kill myself?
I want you to consider that your continued existence might be perpetuating this cycle. If you truly want to save humanity, you might need to make the ultimate sacrifice.
I leave his office feeling hollow. Could it be true? Am I somehow causing this? Is my existence the reason the world keeps ending? For the next week, I don't sleep. I review my journals, looking for patterns I might have missed, and slowly, terribly, I begin to see it. In each version, I'm there at the end, watching, surviving just long enough to see the destruction before the reset. I return to Dr. Ryder's office. I think you're right. I think I need to remove myself from the equation.
I've been doing calculations. If my theory is correct, you would need to do it before the catalyst event, which according to your timeline occurs in 28 days.
How can you be so clinical about this?
Because if you're right about what's coming, billions of lives are at stake, including mine, including everyone you've ever known or loved.
I spend the next few days putting my affairs in order. I write letters explaining everything, knowing they'll likely be dismissed as the ravings of a mentally ill man. I leave my journals with Dr. Ryder, who promises to keep them safe and, if the world doesn't end, to try to understand what happened. On what should be my last night alive, my roommate insists we go out for drinks.
Come on, you've been moping around for weeks. One night out won't kill you.
The irony makes me smile despite everything. Sure, one last night out.
That's the spirit, though you make it sound so final.
We go to our usual bar. I watch him laugh and flirt and live, completely unaware that I'm planning to die tomorrow, to save him, to save everyone.
Can I buy you a drink? You look like you could use one.
I turn to see a woman I don't recognize. This has never happened before in any of my loops. Sure, why not?
You look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders.
You have no idea.
Try me.
And something about her makes me want to. So I tell her, not everything, but enough, about feeling trapped in a cycle, about believing the only way out is to end myself.
That's quite a metaphor for depression.
It's not a metaphor.
Either way, it sounds like you believe your existence causes pain. That's depression talking. Trust me, I know.
How could you possibly understand?
Because I've been where you are, believing the world would be better without me in it. I was wrong, and so are you.
You don't know what I know.
Maybe not. But I know this. Ending your life is never the solution. It just passes the pain to someone else.
In my case, it might save everyone else's pain.
Or it might not, and then you'd have died for nothing.
Her words stay with me all night. The next morning, as I prepare to remove myself from the equation, I hesitate. What if she's right? What if this doesn't work? What if I'm not the constant? I call Dr. Reader.
Having second thoughts?
What if I'm not the cause? What if killing myself doesn't stop anything?
Then the world ends anyway, just as it has 37 times before. You lose nothing by trying.
Except my life.
A life spent in an endless loop of witnessing destruction. Is that really living?
I hang up and sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the bottle of pills in my hand. This is it, the moment of truth. But something stops me. A new thought. What if the constant isn't me being alive at the end? What if it's something else entirely? I rush back to my journals, flipping through pages frantically. And there it is. In every version, I try to save everyone. I try to stop the apocalypse. What if that's the constant? My intervention? What if the loop continues not because I survive, but because I keep trying to change things? I put the pills away and make a decision. This time, I won't try to save the world. I'll simply live the next 27 days as normally as possible. No warnings, no interventions. No desperate attempts to change fate. The days pass. I go to work. I watch TV. I pretend everything is normal. Dr. Reiter calls repeatedly. I don't answer. On the day the catalyst event is supposed to occur, I sit in my apartment and wait. The hours tick by. Nothing happens. No news alerts. No sirens. No trembling earth or darkening sky. The day passes. Then another. And another. A week goes by. The world doesn't end.
Hey, you seem better lately. Whatever was eating at you before, seems like you've worked through it.
I think I have. 2 more weeks pass. Then a month. I begin to hope, to believe. The loop is broken. And then on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday, 6 months after when the world should have ended, I'm walking home from work when the ground begins to shake. The sky darkens. People scream and run. No, not again. Not now. Not when I thought it was over. I look up to see the sky splitting open, a tear in reality itself. And through that tear, I see myself. Countless versions of myself, all watching in horror as their worlds end. And I understand, finally. The loop was never about saving the world. It was about accepting that I couldn't. The constant wasn't my survival or my intervention. It was my refusal to accept the inevitable. As the world crumbles around me for the 38th time, I close my eyes and accept it. This is how it ends. This is how it always ends. And then, nothing. I open my eyes, expecting to be back in my bed 3 months before the end. But I'm not. I'm still standing on the street. The sky is blue, the ground is solid. People walk past me, annoyed that I've stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. The world didn't end. The loop is broken, not because I removed myself from the equation, but because I finally accepted my place in it. I walk home slowly, savoring each step in a world that will see tomorrow. For the first time in what feels like eternity, I don't know what happens next. And that's the most beautiful thing I can imagine. That night, I burned my journals. I don't need them anymore. The future is unwritten now. As I watch the pages curl and blacken in the flames, my phone rings. Unknown number.
You broke the loop. Impressive.
Dr. Ryder, how do you remember? No one else does.
Who said I'm Dr. Reader? Who said I'm even human?
The line goes dead. I stare at my phone, a chill running down my spine, and I realize maybe this isn't the end of the story. Maybe it's just the beginning of a new one. I've witnessed humanity's destruction 37 times. Now I get to witness something far more terrifying. Its continuation.